All right. Yeah, thanks for, I guess, this opportunity, Dr. Rush. As you said, I've been on your case to read this book. I think it's a very interesting book. I think it's one that and you know how I always what I always say to you, Dr. Rush, on the context, feeding the same context into South Africa and stuff, right? So how the whole book goes is that it's around the subscription economy. So subscription economy would be anything that you subscribe to monthly for a business. Something like if you know Apple Music or Netflix or many other things like Showmax as well. And what it talks about is more from a business sense on how a business can succeed if they turn into a subscription model within the financials. And one thing I've seen, and in the first chapter, he talks about the end of an era, on how from when the Industrial Revolution came all the way till of recent, where things have always been a capex kind of model within businesses where, not capex kind of model, but for you to produce and then sell as a business. So you would sell a commodity, or you would sell a service, or let's not a service per se, but a computer, for instance. You'll sell a computer and then you will leave there. Then that's it. It's almost like a sudden stop within that sale that you did. And one of the things that the author, his name is Tien Tzuo. I don't know if I pronounced it well or not. I always mispronounce it. But one of the things that he says is that one problem with the old way of doing things is that you're not able to predict how your financials will be in the next financial year, because of it's all dependent on this amount of sales that you have within that time. And another thing that he mentions is that it's very important, therefore, to be able to, as any business, to succeed, to have recurring revenue within your business. And he then goes on to this in second chapter. He then goes on to say flipping the retail script, meaning again what I just said now, how retail is not just retail anymore, but there's certain ways that people do shopping that is not the same. In the past, you used to buy CDs, you used to buy music, you used to buy things as much, even clothes, for instance, or like what's this? You used to go out and buy shaving cream or just a normal razor. And with the whole subscription economy is around how do we as business give the consumer enough value that they come back every single month on a certain thing that they're buying. Again, I'm going to mention Apple Music or Spotify as an example. That again, in the past, you used to buy CDs, and those CDs will have a whole stack of CDs. But what the digital world brought is that fact that you can now, first of all, it started with Apple, where they started selling Apple Music. They started selling music through the Apple iTunes. And then from there, that's when Spotify and the likes came about, this subscription viewpoint where you can listen to as much music as you want every single month for a small fee. Something like, I think it was like $10 in America or something like that. Something small where it seems non-significant if you look at it. If you're buying so much CDs for tens and tens, I mean, you can buy maybe 5 CDs for $50 back in the days, and now you actually just pay $10 and you can have that music for as long as you want and as much music as you want, which in a way I think for me, I really like that because it solves a problem of being mobile. You know what I mean? Wherever you are able to send someone a song that you heard of, or send someone a movie, for instance, that you'd want them to watch over Netflix, for instance, and it almost creates that that streamlined what's the word I'm looking for? That streamlined form of business for the business, and a streamlined viewership, for instance, for you as a consumer. And then one of the things that really stood out for me is not that it's not only digital things that these guys have come about with, have developed business models, for instance, for they've in one of the chapters, they mention on how they've turned the national railway in France into a subscription model, where they gave students a certain discount on monthly. So they have a student discount and a subscription model, where the students were able from university go on weekends to their families and visit them, and then come back, and they get a certain amount of mileage as well that they can travel with that subscription every month. And how that had turned the whole the whole traveling industry within students in France upside down, where now more students were visiting home, more students were traveling more, because now they have this convenience of having like almost like, I want to say, a bus ticket, but a train ticket that you pay for every month recurringly. And now it helps the train as well have more stabilized income every year, so that the next year they may be able to give more benefits within the railway itself. I think he then talks within the first part of the book, he then talks about the customer at the center of whatever subscription model you do. Because what that does is that, because the customer is constantly paying for value, they don't want to be bored by the same value that they had before. So it forces the business to innovate as well, and it gives them the financial backing to innovate every single time, to obviously capture the mind of the consumer, and how then that can then be turned into almost you have a model. How can I put it? You have an extended period of innovations that you can now plan for, because you'll have the money for it, as long as there's subscribers on there. And I think one of the best, and I think maybe this is one of the examples I always give to people after when I said I read this book, is the fact that they turned someone they turned something like oh yes, this is the model that he explains, as Dr. Rush is sharing now, where the difference is the old business model is product all the way, like it's a supply chain model where it's product into the different channels that they sell it into, all the way to the consumer. And now the consumer, as it's stated here, is at the center of everything. So now what are we doing that's convenient for the consumer, so that the consumer can constantly come back to this service that we're offering them? An amazing, as I was actually continuing now, an amazing way that they put it, an example that they put was how they took Caterpillar and made it into a subscription model. And I mean, you'd think Caterpillar is all these heavy duty industrial machines, and how are you going to make that into a subscription model? And what they basically did then in that is they took the whole basis around the subscription model with them was, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get machines for machinery only, or are you trying to get the Caterpillar machine for actually excavating? So what your business is, what the business of Caterpillar now then turns into, is taking sand or excavation from one place to another. You don't need to own a machine to do that. You don't need to hire a machine for a whole month, even though you only need the machine for a certain point, a certain part of the excavating or the work that it needs to be done. So what these guys did then is that they have these drones. They come to the site, they set up these drones to measure and see the whole land and what needs to happen. And they run it through a machine learning and AI algorithms to basically tell you what's the best form of excavation that needs to be done here, how long it's going to take, and how many machines you need, and also how much it's going to cost you. And once you've done that, you can then hire those machines for that period of time. You can subscribe to those machines basically for that period of time, so that the machines can do the work that you need to be done. Instead of hiring these machines for 3 months, even though you're only going to use it for 1 month, these guys do everything. It comes back to the model that we just saw now, that the customer is at the center of it all. And then he goes, another example was Adobe. So your Adobe Reader, Adobe Suite as well. If you're a creative, I think a lot of those guys use that, or ladies use that with Adobe. But they used to be a very old model of it is, we create a program, you buy licensing to this program for that year or that season, and then for that whole suite, maybe it's a version 3 of the Adobe, and you install it, and then you start doing whatever you do. The next few years, they come up with a new version. You have to buy it again, which is going to cost you maybe hundreds of thousands of rands sometimes. And what they then did is they decided, you know what, we are stagnating with the amount of people that are our customers. In fact, in 1 year, it was actually going down. How then they thought to themselves, how then do they create value and income that's recurring? They then shifted to this, they shifted to this model. But what they saw is that in this model, when they started changing from the old way of doing of selling to this new subscription way, they stock actually went down. But the reason the stock went down is because they shifted. Yes, they didn't shift everything all at once, but as they shifted, people didn't have the confidence in this shift towards a subscription model. They basically thought to themselves, no, but no one is going to want this. People want what is theirs, and leave them alone, right? And what they then did is, but they started seeing more and more people signing up. I think from when they launched it, within 3 years, they had gotten to what their old revenues were, but instead this was now a recurring revenue, instead of not knowing how much the next year they would have, or how much revenue in that is going to be spent in the next financial year to do what they need to do to give value again to the client. So the whole, a lot of what I've covered is in part 1. What part 2 basically talks about is more on the innovation side, the sales and marketing side, on how to turn your business into a recurring, not a SaaS per se, but into a subscription model, whatever business it may be. An example I'll give you, I remember one of my sister's friends, her niece is in university, and she was, they basically started this thing in university where they give you study snacks. And how those study snacks work is that every month you subscribe a certain amount of money, and they deliver these study snacks every week for you, different snacks, mix and match as well. And it was actually very brilliant. It's something that they explained in this in the book as well, which for me was amazing, because now you're taking any old way of thinking of things, as in, for instance, whoever, like a person selling a makip on the side, and you can turn that actually into a subscription model. Now, again, going back into the marketing side as well. So what this model also represented with subscription model is that innovation doesn't stop within this models. You almost in a beta, if you think of software, how he describes it is that you're always in a beta mode, meaning there's always something new that you will be bringing out from from your model that you'll from the service that you'll be giving to the customers. And then the way you then he speaks about rethinking the 4 Ps. So I think the 4 Ps were, give me a second. He mentions the 4 Ps as yeah, they just ran out of my mind now. Just looking for them. Okay, so he mentions the product, price, promotion, and place. So what he says there is that you should make, with the product, you should make and package something that people want. And when talking back to the beta, is that as people start buying into this model, you get feedback on what people don't like and what people like. And then you start going towards that. And for those people that have been subscribing, they can now see a better product as it goes on. He makes an example with Kanye West and one of his albums, and how he released an album on Spotify and on iTunes, I think. And as people were listening to it, he took that data of what people were listening to, and he was like, okay, I see people like this kind of sound. And then he changed it to all the other least liked songs in the album. And he changed it to kind of like go towards a certain trend within a sound. And people started listening to that. And he basically says with that, when you package something when people like that song, that people like this kind of genre or this kind of sound, you then package it into that sound, those that people didn't like, and you'll see people will start getting onto that into your album more. People will start subscribing more towards what you like, because it almost works out, when I think about it, with the rule of large numbers. The more you put something into the more you pour into something, the more it becomes what the majority is. And now when majority obviously likes it, more people will then jump onto that bandwagon to start listening to that, or whatever product whatever you package it. And then the price, he says that your product could have a competitive price that makes sense for both your company and your customer. So what you're saying around that as well is more towards now you know what price range you can now play with, because now who's your customer? First of all, who's your customer and how much are they willing to spend? And when you're starting with a subscription, you can now adjust as towards the right price at which people are actually like, yes, I actually want this, for this is the right price at what we want it for. And then the promotion he talks about, he says your product brand should be advertised through attractive channels, presentable by attractive people. So now that's when you get to it. Almost, I want to say, you almost go into one of the books that we've read in the past. That what is it? What's this book's name? The one with Crushing It, on how you get these influencers now to start promoting your brand, or you get promotion will start becoming bigger now, because now it's something that once you catch someone, they stay in, because now they want to be part of the crowd. They want to actually, they want what other people want. And then the last thing he says, the place, he says your product should be distributed and sold in a convenient and compelling location. So again, if you're music, obviously you'll go towards Spotify because it's the hottest platform, and then you'll get into what's his name, Apple Music as well, because it's also quite popular. And then you will place your product in a place where people will basically see more of it, and that will help your product obviously increase in subscribers and stuff. And then I just want to mention one more thing that really stood out. Okay, just okay, yeah. So I'm just going to mention that he mentions that there's 8 sales strategies that for growth, right? I'm just going to mention them with name as well. So he talks about acquiring your initial set of customers. He mentions a few things around that, reducing your churn rate. That's what I wanted to talk about. So what subscription model helps you with is know who's coming in and who's going out. That data for any company is very important because you want to know why are people leaving, what your churn rate is, because you want to stop as many people from leaving. Because once, yes, maybe you have 1 million subscribers, right? But once you start seeing people churning at a rate of 1 million, that million starts becoming like there's 100,000 of these people leaving every month, then you know there's a problem. And now you're able to see where with different data points within your company, where those problems lie, so that you can adjust towards what these people, why they're leaving, so that you can adjust around, so that they can stop leaving the platform because of whatever thing that you never, for instance, realize that is on there. And then he talks about expanding your sales team. In one of the things that I've read in the past, not necessarily on this book, is that you obviously need to know where your business lies. Is it a business, is it a sales driven product, or is it a market driven product? A sales driven product is a product that takes us, is big, it's expensive. So something like, again, something like the Caterpillar will probably have a bigger sales team than what Spotify will have. Spotify will probably do more marketing because it's generally more people that will be consuming than the sales team. They will have maybe 1 or 2 sales people, but that drive will be more marketing than sales driven. And this is where he talks about how you're able to channel salespeople within the right direction of the people, of where they need to buy, of the right customers as well. Increased value through upselling and cross-selling. So what he talks about there is more, once you have captured these people within the environment, you're able to now sell more to them. Because you've already got them in your ecosystem. Apple does it very well, where they capture you in one market. You have an iPhone, they say, no, buy them iPad, and you can now talk to someone on your iPad or on your iPhone or on your Apple MacBook and all of these things, where they now able to cross sell certain things, like with their streaming as well. So yeah, that's for me. There's a lot more that I could talk about, but I actually want to hear what the rest of you, if you have read it, have found from the book. So I don't know who else read the book other than Dr. Rosh.
I listened.
Oh, okay. And how did you like it?
I had like mixed feelings about it. I like that I'm a big fan of Salesforce. Like I will do anything. I even set up an NGO just to have a free Salesforce account. And I remember, when was it? Almost 20 years ago, I was using Salesforce mad crazy. And I think for me, Salesforce got replaced by LinkedIn in a way, as a professional and as an opinion leader. And I could tell that everything that he was describing was basically everything that he learned from Salesforce. So it didn't feel too fresh and too new. And I loved all his examples, because they basically, you could get a sense of how you could transition from a non-subscription model to a subscription model. And it reminded me about a subscription box that I saw in South Africa, because I'm also a big fan of subscription boxes. And I actually think township economies should run on subscription boxes, because we don't have access to market. So having advised somebody who was selling vegetables and say, imagine if, I remember when I moved to London almost 17 years ago, I subscribed to organic vegetables, and they just used to arrive at my doorstep every weekend. And I thought, wow, revolutionary, especially in a country where they sell crappy food. To have access to decent food was really great. But at some point, as a consumer, it made me hate subscriptions. Like I kind of felt like I'm being tricked. And it was, as much as he says it's a business that cares about its customer, it kind of felt like you get trapped. Like it's almost like a plan to constantly trap people into this business, and that you can't get out. And I think he does mention that sometimes people are just too lazy to unsubscribe, and eventually they do. So you have to work hard to keep them subscribed. But it also, the subscription model has always relied on people that are too lazy to unsubscribe, with the model that about 30% of your people will actually use your business, and the rest will just basically sponsor you. Like with the gym, the gyms rely on, if we all had to go to the gym, if everybody that actually signs up for the gym had to shop at the gym, it would never work. So they actually heavily rely on people that did not go. So some examples were new, some were really interesting and eye-opening. I like that the transport model for airlines. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I can imagine that if you travel quite a lot, I hate traveling now because of airports. And I was like, if I could actually just pass through all the airport rigmarole, it would make traveling nice. And I also like the French example with young people that are like, I'm a last minute, I would book last minute. And I thought that is nice. So what it sounded like with this model, it's almost like you combine a concierge service with any business that you're doing. So if you've got a product, you add subscription, then you add a concierge service. That's pretty much what I felt like you could have just said that. He didn't mention concierge enough. And I just thought this sounds like concierge in every business that you're in. You got to think of yourself as a concierge. And interesting enough, we also mentioned in the automotive industry, my friend in California just bought a Tesla. And I was talking to her yesterday. Every time you talk to her, she tells about all these things that her car can do. Like it orders its own parts, it does this. It's like people just come to your house and fix it. And I'm like, but what if you don't need new tires? Like if you're traveling in Thailand, you'll come back home and there'll be new tires because the Tesla decided it needs new tires. And I'm like, that's a trap. Like, what if if I'm a black person, I'm going to ride that car until I'm like, yeah, until the guy in the garage is like, I see, get new tires. And I don't want my car ordering things all the time, or they come fix it, or like she was just like, it had a whole bunch of unnecessary features. And I thought it brought me back to business 101. I don't, if you, any of you, Dr. Roche, you did accounting business. I remember in my first lecture in my degree when I was doing commerce, there was an example that, a Ferrari is a sports car for 3 months. After that, it's a means of transport. And I kind of thought, after 3 months, the novelty might wear off. And, and I thought this guy must have been in IT or finance, because in economics, we know the marginal utility of consumption, that at some point it's nice to get a box and open it and get new things. At some point, you're going to end up with boxes piled up and unsubscribed. So, which is, how do you get people hooked who would not already buy? I like the Kanye model because Kanye people will stick with him. Well, if you like Kanye, you like Kanye. It's a cult situation. So the subscription model sounds like when everybody says move to IT, it also, and people realize that IT or an app is not the business. You need a business. The app is a solution. So you almost, every example he made, they already had business. These people had already captured the market. And all they were doing is just adding more features to make it easy. So if I was starting up, I wouldn't look at this as a solution to my sales. He also looks at business companies, which basically I think at chapter 12 is like, you need a huge team to make this happen. You need a big sales team. You need a big marketing team. You need your finance team involved, and hence the fish model. So as a startup or as an entrepreneur, I kind of thought you have to build a business before you actually come into a subscription model, according to his advice. But I also like that he kind of made me think outside the box about subscription and what the fact that, as you say, Caterpillar, you can go into a subscription model. That was interesting. And back to the Kanye thing, it reminded me of Austin Kleon's, I don't know if I'm saying it right, the show your work model. And actually found out about Austin Kleon, I think from Gary Vee also. He recommended that, show your work or steal from others and show your work, something like that. But he was constantly, and that also has to do with the beta model, that you're literally constantly in a beta mode where you're always working towards something. And by the time you come to an end, which is the old model was like, you produce a product, you come to an end, you sell it, you start another cycle and produce a new product. So this is like, if you consider that your work is constantly in beta, you always show it, you always share it, you use the social media to get your subscribers constantly hooked on it. And I think it's just that if you're a business, from the minute that you start, and I think, Raj, we mentioned the last time when you didn't like the Gary Vee much, that you got to be on social media and sell, because people buy you and they buy you. And at some point you basically, you can either have them as subscribers or they'll subscribe later to something. And I think when it got to the pricing, I kind of lost interest because I thought, my business is not there yet. And at some point when it is, and I need to do subscriber, I'll come back and read the whole pricing model of how to price, like 2 prices. Do you simplify it? Do you make it complicated? Do you get people choosing between different packages? I mean, simple is always easier. It's like premium. I like he quoted somebody who had 2 pricing models, premium and standard, but they are for 10 years and they wanted to upgrade that. And I thought, well, that's a brilliant idea when you're starting, premium or simple. It should be like 3 options and that's it, or 2 options, that's it. But I was surprised that he worked with a client that wanted to upgrade from that model. But overall, I thought it's interesting. I hadn't thought about subscription as like a single standing topic in any business. And I've always thought about it as, if you want people to sponsor your company without getting the goods, that's nice. But I also thought, we thought about it in Dab to say, let's do subscription, and we didn't activate it because we realized that we were not ready to give out, the value of what people would be subscribing for, or we wouldn't be able to deliver everything in the first month. And my partner Molo was of a different thought, to say, what, let people subscribe. If you're ready in 3 months to give them something, let them do. So I asked her to also read this, and so that we could actually decide what kind of subscription model, when are we ready to open the subscription, and how do you keep people hooked? How do you keep them coming back and excited? Like, for me, at some point I was like, this is way above where I am as an entrepreneur. And I was like, I wonder what a South African version of this book would look like. So maybe Melissa, you need to write us a South African version of this book.
Yeah, who knows? Actually, and I'll, like I said in the beginning, I always talk to Dr. Rosh about that, is that we read all of these books, but they're very first world orientated. But we as South Africans, we know we're not there yet. But it doesn't mean we don't look towards there as well, because at the end of the day, I think the principle around what he talks about, I really like. And the principle is that, for me, is more around keep on creating value for people and the people will come. And that's the thing. If you stop being, how can I put it? I feel like there's some businesses that have become lazy to innovate, that what they have is what they have. And as I'll give you an example of what I mean by that is, it's with these cell phone guys like Samsung and Apple, they don't necessarily have subscription models, but they've seen that they need, well, I'm saying in a sense of the phone itself, they do have, but they don't drive it as much as just selling and bringing up a new model every single year, right? They do that because they've seen that it's almost like a competition between them to say, what am I bringing next? And I need to up one on the other guy, or I need to one up on the other guy. And all of them, it drives innovation. But when you're in an industry where innovation is just laid back, how do you then drive innovation? And that is in a way the way to, as you're saying, it's a way to finance my dreams, to build this company that's worth billions and billions by getting people to subscribe, so that every year I can see this business growing towards a certain aspect of where it could be, you know. So I get exactly what you mean though about how does it look for South African context. I wonder myself. But yeah, has anyone else? I know there's Dr. Rush. Obviously, you've read it. I want to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, thanks, Mali. I think for me, I kind of liked it. It was quite different. You know, I mean, we teach revenue models because basically what this is another revenue model, right? It's like 7 types of revenue models where you sell products outright, which is what he starts with here. So you sell products people buy and you don't get to see them anymore, right? And that's it. And that has always been the traditional way of building a business, where we come up with a product, we transact with our customers, we don't get to see them again. And maybe we get to see them again if we have an improved product and we want to buy that improved product. So we go back to them and say, hey, look, I have a better, shinier Apple iPhone, buy it. So it becomes this recurring annual thing where we make our product shinier every year. So that has always been the traditional way that people start businesses. But there's also other ways where instead of just selling them the shinier thing, you listen to them and they pay you rent. So there's all these other things. And another revenue model is subscription. So, you know, it was quite interesting to see a book on that, you know, line item subscription. And I think for me, the question was, what is subscription model? Because subscription models, it might sound like I'm part of a stokvel and every month we club together, we put money together. Is that subscription? I don't think that's subscription, because what he actually says is it's not just membership, because we you know, we can easily think that because I'm paying on a monthly basis, therefore it's a subscription model. And I think that's not what he's referring to. He's basically saying, you know, are you collecting data, right? I mean, what's key is, are you collecting data? Do you have personal information of the members, banking details? Because with subscription models, you also enter banking details, because that's how payments happen. They get deducted from your account. But also what's critically important, and I think for me that was the key differentiator between just being a membership-driven organization and a subscription model, is you are then, because through technology, you are then able to monitor the spending patterns or the consumption patterns of the members in the group. And I mean, as I was reading this, I'm thinking, you know, on my account, almost every month, there's like 3 or 4 debits that are going out on subscription, right? I mean, I subscribed to Audible, which is a subscription model. They know the books that I buy, they know the books that I read, and they also, because they can see the books that I buy, they're able to recommend other books, and which is the innovation part. And I think what Tien, Tzuo, right, is talking about, that you are customer-centric, so they're able to predict which books I would like. But also Uber, I mean, you know, I use a lot of Uber, even though I don't pay on a monthly basis Uber. But the fact is, Uber operates like a subscription model. They have my personal details, they have my banking details, they know my spending habits, where did I go, when did I go, you know, and those type of things. So I found that to be quite interesting. I think I'm going to explore it. I think I don't love the subscription model of, I used to subscribe way back to newspapers, and there would be days where I don't feel like reading newspapers, but they will be there in a plastic. And sometimes The whole week, they will still be in there in the plastic, and the following week, there'll be newspapers coming through. But I think I like the subscription model where I initiate the transactions and not the other way around, where because I subscribed, I get all this. And I mean, you have seen it, and I'm sure some of you have experienced it, where you have subscribed to the New York Times, which is what I do quite a lot. I've subscribed to the New York Times, and there's 4 different types of things that comes every day, and sometimes I don't have time to read it. Or I subscribe to The Economist, and there's economics, there's the intelligence, there's this. I don't have time to read. So the subscription model where you just push products to your customers because they've subscribed, I don't think that works. But I think the subscription model where it's on demand, I want something, I want to buy a book on Audible, I purchase it, and I read it, and I pay that monthly subscription. I think for me that works. Why is subscription model taking off now? I think far more than before, and I think it's because technology is becoming more. There's this term that I learned. It's becoming more ubiquitous. I don't know who comes up with the more. It's all over. So it's convenience. So people can actually access things through their phones. So I think that's why the subscription model is becoming more and more important. And yeah, I mean, what have I learned from the book? I think it's a fantastic book. I'll have to go read it again because I want to see if I can apply it on some of the things. But I think what I loved is it re-emphasizes, and I think to Deboko's point, some of the things are not really quite new, really. And I think what Tien is saying is at the center of the subscription model is you need to be customer-centric. So at the center, it's customer. But also there's this whole debate about bricks and mortar versus e-commerce in the retail space. I don't think for me the question is retail becoming obsolete, but I think he also mentions it in the book, that it's the convenience of how people buy and the distribution and how we consume news. I still back. I know there are some people who still prefer paper newspapers. I find that I consume news online. And there's all this shift in newspapers, transportation, software, is shifting towards subscription. Marketing through experience is becoming more important than just pushing a product to people. But what I love also about this is the revenue model, right? Now you can predict the money coming into the business because you've got X amount of members and they pay a monthly fee. So you have some form of financial base that you can build from. So I liked that. But I think also if you are going to do this, and for instance, in Teboko's instance, and I've been thinking about this also, is if you're going to build a subscription model, if you're going to build it on your business using this book, is you need to have people like Mali, IT people, because it sounds to me, because I was thinking, how do I ask people for their banking details? How do I ask them to debit every month? Right? How do I go about that? Right? So the infrastructure, the IT infrastructure becomes very important. The booking, invoicing, the whole cash flow, delivering, experiencing becomes very, very, very important. But I mean, we use subscription model quite a lot. I mean, there's Netflix, even though I have my on and off days on Netflix, there are times where I watch, there are times where months will pass without me watching. I use Audible and Script quite a lot. Uber, WordPress. I mean, WordPress for my blog also. So you have a freemium model where it's free, but if you want the sophisticated things, then you have to pay a certain amount, then you are able to get more features. So my WordPress is also a subscription. It's not a monthly subscription, but it's a yearly subscription. DSTV, I mean, you were talking about how is it applicable to South Africa. DSTV is a subscription model. I know people are upset that there are a whole lot of repeats, but I read somewhere, I think yesterday or the day before, where they were talking about they're going to now go to a space where you can actually choose the channels that you want to watch. So you can customize the channels that you want to watch. But DSTV is a subscription model. Data contracts, I mean, if I buy 50 gigs a month, blah, 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 from Rain, if it ever works at some point, I hope. It's also a subscription model. I mean, as an iPhone user, you also subscribe to Apple Music. I was quite upset that I now have to pay on a monthly basis to access the music. But also it's that Uber Eats is a subscription model. They have our personal details, they have our banking details, they know what we buy. If I want to check what did I buy last time, I just go to Uber Eats and I check what did I order last time. EDX and Udemy, which I also do some of their courses also, it's a subscription model. You enter your personal details, and as you buy some of these things, they're able to recommend similar programs based on what you have consumed. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I'm gonna try it in the small steps. I was reading somewhere about how do you apply it in education as well. You know, in a university setting, and you can have all these types of clubs and tribes within the university. And some of these tribes are member driven. You can upload data on those tribes or courses or whatever, and the members can upload their personal details and buy some of the courses. So slowly but surely, it's also going to get entrenched in education as well. So yeah, it's an interesting book. I wouldn't ordinarily have said I want to buy this, ordinarily, no. But yeah, I think it's adding to the knowledge. So yeah, that's me.
I like what you're saying a lot, Dr. Rush, because it's, and like you said, Tzuo said it as well, it's nothing new. I just think the perspective he's giving is more of a customer centric. The reason I'm saying that is DSTV has been a customer centric, no, not customer, has been a subscription model. But I'll be honest to say, I don't think it was customer centric, because if they were to be customer centric, they would, yes, there is shows that people want to watch and everything else, but the convenience is where the customer is very, I mean, if you can give customer convenience of clicking on a show that they want. I mean, I can go on Netflix and watch, let's just say a show that The Good Doctor, if you haven't seen like The Good Doctor, and I watched season 1 again because I just enjoyed it so much. And that's the convenience it gives you. And it gives you that feeling of, you know what, I can return and I'll find something that is of value. As much as, for instance, the gym is a good example. As much as I wouldn't go to the gym, for instance, every day, even though I paid to go every day, I think the point still remains that you know that the gym is there for me. The reason I pay every month sometimes is more of a, I know I'm going to need to go to the gym because I know I need to be healthy. Right now, I might not be feeling like I want to be healthy, but eventually there's going to come a day where I'm just like, you know what, I'm motivated. It's the 1st of January or 2nd of January. I'm going to go to gym, you know, and you want it for those days that you might not feel like, you know, when you're bored or something. And that's one thing I guess I like about the subscription models. One of the things that I really like though, about how maybe the first world countries, these Apples and everything, how they do it, is that they don't give you a year's contract, for instance. They say, subscribe, and we promise you're going to get enough value that you will probably not want to leave. And the cool thing about that is that then they make sure that you habituated into that ecosystem enough for you to not leave, because every month they say you can leave at any time, but trust me, you will not want to leave because of the benefits you will get with our product. Now, it is, for me, that is more customer focused or customer centered, because that you are putting you're putting your money where your mouth is, in a way, by saying stop whenever you want. We don't force you to do a year's contract, but we tell you now that the benefit is so good that you probably will not want to leave. And it's true. I mean, look at Spotify. Every month they're adding a new a new streaming thing, or even Netflix, where they say every week there'll be something, a new TV show coming onto Netflix every week. And they know that, okay, this year we're spending $3 billion, and $3 billion is going to get us this amount of shows. Now you're able to plan around that. Whilst with those guys in the past, with Disney and all those guys, they didn't necessarily know what they can do for the next year. So planning was very limited. And that's what I think, it gives me perspective of that. In fact, I'll give you an example. The whole reason I actually got to listening to this or getting this book was that when I was starting my business, I was looking at different revenue models, right? As you were saying, Dr. There's so many revenue models that people have come up in the past and everything else. And I wanted to understand the freemium one. And this freemium one led me to a YouTube video about, what's his name? Tien. And then he obviously was speaking about his book, and that's when I started reading it. So I like how what perspective he gives around this is, and what you and Tzuo were saying, that this is nothing new, but it just brings a different spin to things, you know. So is there anyone else that has read this book and will just like to give the 5 cents or 20 cents?
Just one thing, Mali, just to say that the reason why what I take away from the book is using the DSTV subscription model is that what Tien is saying is, if DSTV had built their product offering around the customers, in other words, around our viewership, if I want to watch this show, and then it can recommend other shows, or I can pick and choose which ones I want, and I can watch that. But I think the DSTV model was membership. For me, was more membership than subscription, if we are to use Tien's thing. But I think what I'm taking away from the book is it needs to be customer centered. So in other words, you need to have the ability to track what your customers are doing, how are they spending, where are they spending, when are they spending, how much are they spending. And I think for me, that's where the difference is. Unlike a gym, I'm not so sure if they do. I mean, if you were a member of Discovery back then and you were part of the Health and Racket back then, and they would give you points based on how much you when you clock in on the test line, and people will just clock in on the test line and clock out immediately without going to the gym. That was so funny because I wanted the points, you know. That was so you see someone coming and they click in and move the other way around and they're gone. Like, what's happening here? But I think what Tien is saying is, if you are able to go deeper than just offer the product, but also, observe and assess your customers. Yeah.
Was there someone else that wanted to say something? I think I heard of another voice trying to say if they will rate the book. Is it only us three? All right. Tzuo, is there something else you want to add to this? I see you.
No, I like what I wanted to respond to the membership. I disagree with Rosh that membership is not subscription, because you actually mentioned that Prince was one of the Prince and was it androgynous not Bono? Who's the guy who married the Malay, the black woman? The androgynous singer. He also created like a membership club in the 90s.
Oh yes,
European.
with his music, with yes, I get it. Yes, I remember that part. I forgot his name.
Married to like a 30s woman. She's dead now. Actually, they're both dead now. Ooh. Okay. But they came up, the musicians that came up with a membership club that was subscription. And because that's what I thought, that if you're in the service industry, sometimes membership is subscription of sorts. And what Prince was doing is that he basically gave his value to clients was constantly give them something, constantly, like podcasts when podcasts were not there, live shows when they were not there. And And I think that for me, I was like, oh, actually, you need to start thinking of membership. And this morning, funny enough that Rosh, you mentioned tribe, and the new millennials will tell you that if you're doing, you need a tribe, then the tribe subscribes to, they basically become members, and then you sell them something as a premium to additional access. So that I actually thought, oh, that's quite interesting. And something that I actually forgot was how accounting is going to be done in the future. It will be interesting if a university or professor in accounting should actually read this book and realize that there's a new accounting entry for them to start looking at, because he said that, the way you do subscriptions does not work with the traditional sales model with that Italian guy who started before. Because with your subscriptions, you literally can earn your income in January and never have to worry the whole year, and do it again next year as a recurring income model. And I actually thought that was quite interesting to consider. So yeah, I thought that, those two things.
I think
sorry, I think what I was referring to is the difference. What I'm picking up from Tien is, I mean, if you read Seth Godin's book on tribes, what Seth says in the book on tribes is and I think what Tien is also sort of bringing into Subscribed is, one of the distinguishers of tribes is the members need to contribute, right? So it's not just the parachute approach, top down, the leader subscribes to the people what they need to do, but also what Seth is saying is, you are creating a platform for the tribe to converse and connect. And I think one of the ways that he uses is connect, that they can connect. And I think that's quite important. And what Tien is bringing in Subscribed is also that to say, at the center of all the subscription is this customer. And the customer, are you able, it's not a top-down, even though the customer is centered, it's not a top-down, you are telling what the customers push is, but it's also, what is it about the customer? So there's that connection between tribes and this book, where the customer is at the center. And I mean, I like what he's talking about with Kanye. And Kanye, for instance, he would listen to the responses of the audience, and based on the responses, he will then go back. I mean, this infinite beta mode where you'd go back and take. So so at the center of, and for me, that's a difference. At the center of the Subscribed model is the customer, and the ability to memberships often don't. It's often one way. It's often you subscribe. You are a member. You are paying gym. Come to gym. Don't come to gym. We're getting paid. That's it. So I think what Tien is saying is that subtle, yes, they're paying every month, yes, but also monitor them. And I think for me, that's what I'm taking away. And it's sort of like coming back to the concept of tribes.
But I just want to add to that. I think one of the standouts, and I like what you're saying now, Tzuo, about Prince, right? Is in the age where people only consumed music when they were told to consume it, he now brought something else that was different from the norm, meaning he was able to now bring people into the experience of how he was making that music, especially someone that's a really big music lover. So the early adopters of a song, of a sound, or whatever it is that maybe he was producing at the time, is that in that time, he took the people on a journey. Now, it could be you're a fan of his, doesn't matter his music, even though his music maybe wasn't good for you, but you constantly were in a place where you're intrigued by what is his thought process around making a song, or him being so great. And you become a member in that you follow him, but you become a subscriber to what he was actually doing every single time, meaning you're able to go and know where his next performances are going to be, where what his new songs are going to be. So those kind of inputs where the people are constantly thriving on Prince being Prince instead of thriving on Prince only brings out a newspaper, like you're saying, Dr. Raj, with the newspapers, that the newspaper, you know, it's always going to come. Yes, it's new stories every single time, but you get bored of it sometimes because maybe it's just the same old problems that we've been seeing in the newspaper. Whilst with Prince, because it's something that maybe it's emotionally, it drives you. You know that you're going to get something out. And even if maybe it's one song that you don't like, okay, let me not listen to it today. Tomorrow, I know he will bring something else. And that's pretty good. So, yeah. Then I'll want to, so in one of the things that Dr. Rush sent me, but it says, like, how do you feel about the book, other than, let's say, I want you to describe the book for you from a place of South African context. Then again, I'm bringing it back to South African context because I feel like there's more that maybe people don't realize. Maybe the people on the that haven't read the book, something that maybe would entice them to think subscription going forward within a South African context. Maybe we'll start with you.
I actually think maybe somebody else in the room could sort of share what they thought. Even if they didn't read that book, it's kind of it's a universal thing. But for me, with in South Africa, I thought it's more tangible products that I think would work quite nicely on it, and maybe adapting the model to an SME, because the big companies are well established. They're dinosaurs, and I think it does mention the dinosaurs that will soon die if they don't. South Africa is not customer centric, honestly. I was at the gym this morning, and I'm like, oh my God! Every time I enter through service in South Africa, it's a horrible situation. So I don't know how they were going to survive that, but I would like to see more tangible stuff. In terms of subscription model. Uber cannot scale to a point where there's subscription. I don't know. I think, well, but as South Africans, if you're running a South African business, the subscription model gives you an opportunity to go continent wide, so to speak. Like, if honestly, if this book club was a subscription, I would subscribe.
Dr. Rush, you heard that, right? I want to hear like other people as well, like you saying, Tabo. Matebo, maybe we can ask you what maybe you have any input on this book.
Well, I mean, I have input on the conversation, not necessarily the book. And so it's something that Tebogo said, I think, when she made her comments around the township economy and the subscription model. And I remembered that, when I was growing up a long time ago, there used to be this guy, who used to have this van, and he used to have particular houses, maybe about 30 houses. I grew up in Soshanguve, so he would, every Saturday morning, he would, and I mean, it's at that time when we didn't have thieves everywhere, but every Saturday morning you would wake up, and at the gate, maybe Kabo 7, so there would be a 2 liter of milk, a 2 liter of guava juice, and a 2 liter of orange juice. And he would drop it off every Saturday morning. So we then knew that, for the week, we then have these 3 things coming. I don't know how much my dad used to pay for that, but I remember when that this Mang passed away, maybe about 3 years later. I mean, if you asked me to point him out to Mobatung, I wouldn't know him, but I knew his van because I would see his van, and he used to have these boys who would then, just get off the van, and then quickly drop off the products and then leave. And then, I mean, I don't know how my dad paid. I don't know when my dad paid. But I know that when he passed away, we reboni when the stuff stopped coming, and I think he was very futuristic because he was doing the subscription model way before it had a name, you know? And I think that if our entrepreneurs, especially when you provide products that you know it's a daily bread type of a thing that people need, and you're able to then provide something that is convenient. I mean, the fact that we didn't have to go buy bread and oros and whatever every week, it was a big thing. The only thing that we actually bought was like bread. And I mean, if he could do bread every 2 days, it would have also been great. You know, we would pay for that. So for me, if our entrepreneurs, and maybe it's going back to basics, you know, and saying, how did we used to do stuff that used to work for us when we were growing up? And how would it work now? And then I don't know how they would then innovate to ensure that maybe you can then book, pay online, and then have the stuff delivered, you know, depending on whatever it is that you're buying. So for me, I thought that would have been a great something to, you know, that would have been engaging from the olden days and continue using, because, you know, as we are growing and we are innovating, I don't think everybody belongs in the rubbish can. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this whole online subscription. I mean, I've got a French word for it. I think it's really a scam. I mean, I have been scammed into subscribing into stuff. So 1 minute you're listening to the 7-minute gym thing, Pilates thing that you are able to do and lose 7 kilograms in 7 days. And then you think it's a free 7-day trial because they say you're going to lose 7 kilograms in 7 days. And then you enlist Molly, you put in your details, and because your everything is connected, where my card details are already on the system, like online, I wake up, 700 and mang has been taken. I get about $37. You know, so there's just $37. I didn't quite go and calculate, because I then thought 30-day free subscription or 7-day free subscription, what. And then I'm part of the brigade that doesn't unsubscribe, you know. So 25 days later, you know, I see SMS ring 725, what. It's out. I fight with the bank, and then they tell me, oh no, you subscribed. You must go and unsubscribe. If you don't go and unsubscribe, another $37 is going to come out of your account. And then what do? I continue with my life. And then 25 days later, I get woken up by another SMS. So I think it's a big scam. I really think it's a big scam, unless if you really, really want that product. But yeah, I think if you can do it right, you know, it's just passive cash that just keeps on coming in. So yeah, 2 cents worth.
I like what you're saying about it's a scam. I think there will always be opportunists out there that try their best to steal, you know, or to take advantage of people that don't necessarily know. To maybe, and the thing is, it will always be that way, where you just obviously face value, you think something is well, but it's actually not. But it almost ruins the reputation of those that are actually doing, bringing value to people, like you're saying, Tate Mang, where he was actually bringing value. So yeah, Shama, do you maybe want to give your input on this?
Good evening, everyone. And I haven't read the book because my exclusive books here didn't have it, but I should have done something about it on Audible, but I will get to it when I can. And thank you so much for just enlightening us. And for me, someone who's like really interested in the beauty industry, I'm like, okay, once I start, how am I going to get people to keep paying me? Because these are services that women do every single month, you know, like nails, facials, massages. So I'm like, how am I going to do it, you know, to get people to subscribe to my spa and I make money, whether they come or not, but I know that at least something is coming in, right? So it's been eye-opening, and especially the part where you say that
you should always be customer centric. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put the customer at the center of it all, and make sure they keep coming back and keep paying a monthly fee to my business. So yeah, I think that's it from me, just to see how to be innovative about it and make sure they keep coming, not just making money from them, Jay, you know. So yeah, I'll get it when it's available here.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, one of the things I like of what you're saying now is more around obviously the beauty industry is very big. In fact, it's probably one of the biggest industries in the world, right? And how do you get it onto subscription model? And one thing I guess that we should remember is that subscription doesn't mean, for instance, that they come back every month, but rather you can subscribe to tokens, let's say a certain amount of tokens or a certain amount of comebacks to do your hair or makeup or whatever it is, where you can when he explains the train part, he says or the flying one as well, the airplanes, he says that you subscribe to a certain amount of miles every month, for instance, and you can add onto that once those miles are done, but you can subscribe to it, and once those miles are done you can just reload. But you're almost having it in a way where you need to do the research as a company to say, what other values can I give to my customers? Just and then a last thing from my side is that I remember a friend of mine saying to me that, and this is not necessarily towards the subscription model, but just more towards research, and how his dad is a doctor, and how his dad would for a long time not put an air conditioning in the hospital waiting room, because he thought, no, these people are just coming here to do to come to the doctor and find what's wrong with them, and then they leave. They don't need an air con, they don't need juice, they don't need, but those things are actually just values. They just things that add to almost the subscription, to say, you know what, you want to be in this place because you're always going to be cool when you come in there and it's winter, or and it's summer, or it's winter and it's actually warm, or there's juice every single time that I get. I don't have to dry, my throat doesn't have to be dry always, but there's actual value that I'm giving to these people, that they come back and their children's children come back as well. Matsepo?
So, I mean, it's a quick question, and maybe it's because I didn't read the book. Maybe if I had read the book, I would have the answer to this question. But I think it's something that Shama just asked now. So I remember honestly these beauty places, like it's Bo Sobe and whatever, where you go and you do your nails every week, and they would then stamp like a little card, and then they then say, Hori, if you get 6 stamps, then you can get 2 free, or your next nail appointment is free, and then you get 3 more stamps, and you've got a facial for free. And so, I mean, obviously, then you keep on coming. It's like they did it even with the I think Sasol Garage also had it, to then say, if you put in the full tank, say 3 in a month, then the 4th full tank is free, type of a thing. And I'm asking myself, is that, another maybe type of not necessarily subscription in the formal sense of the word, but like a type of a marketing ploy that just, keeps you coming back. I mean, obviously there is value, like who's going to give you a full free tank for free? But, but I'm asking myself, is it, almost like a hidden type of a subscription model that maybe Shama could possibly think about, and say, 3 nail treatments and the next 2 are free and stuff. It's just a question for everyone, anyone who can respond.
Sita was hand is up.
I had a different thought for Shama. I think it's great that if you can say to a client every whatever 3rd or 4th treatment is free. But then what you can also do, because the whole idea with the whole subscription model is that you should be able to earn your income, your annual income upfront based on how many people have actually signed for the subscription. So you already know that in 6 months, 3 months of them just subscribing, you make profit. You want cash in the bank. But I'm thinking, Shama, if you look at, and I think something that Tien also mentioned is the vertical and horizontal growth in your business. So you're in the beauty and spa industry, which means that you've got clients that trust you. So if I can't tell you how many cuticle creams I have from Lush that I've never used. But if you probably tell a client, if you recommend beauty products, they're most likely going to trust you than they will trust themselves at a shelf called Discam or Go Clicks. So what you could consider doing is talking to some of the beauty products to give you samples or send you samples, and only your subscription clients get those samples. So it could be like a hand lotion, a wipe, or whatever. So you basically can create a subscription box for your clients that subscribe. So they know that every month they get a box of goodies from you. And also then you can say every time they come, if you prepaid, so you basically say pay 1,000 upfront, and you get 11 whatever. So you discount it upfront. So you don't rely on them coming in, because every time I see that model that says, oh, come in and your third one is free, I'm like, I forget that I have to actually go. Or they ask if you've got that membership card, or if you've got a sticker, or if you've got this. It becomes an administrative nightmare. So one of the things that you want to do is reduce that burden on your clients if you do that loyalty card concept. You don't want, people already have too much going on in their wallets, and that's the last thing that they also need. So I'd say those are the two ideas that I immediately think, get a subscription box and get a loyalty membership thing. And also then you put a duration on it, that if somebody pays 1,000, they have to get that within 3 months, because you can't keep it open for 10 years or whatever. And that's how gyms and things make money out of you, because it's a monthly offer. Every month it resets and starts all over again, and every month it resets and starts. So if they didn't use the opportunity, or they didn't use the resource in month one, you've earned the subscription fee, you've given them value, you've availed the value. And if they didn't use it, it's that, and then you basically keep monthly subscriptions going.
Please, no cards, no cards. We have enough cards on our wallets. No cards, please.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
That's where
no more
technology
cards.
comes
Like, I can't. Yeah. So you need to administer it at the office. Not you can't ask a customer to. I mean, if you fancy enough, you can also use an app, with a QR code. But don't make the customer manage a subscription, because also, and I think as you said, that if you subscribe to something, I think Matap was that you forget. If you make me administer something, I will remember to cancel while I'm at it, because it will become annoying.
There's a place actually here by where I stay. It's a water place. I buy my water from there, and you actually can subscribe to I think it's 10 20-liter water for a year. Well, not for a year, for until it ends, and then you can resubscribe onto it. And that's basically what you're saying as well, is that I like that, where you give a person a certain amount of time to finish the subscription, so that you can make as much as you can, so that you can grow the business. If you want to invest in another shop so that you'll be able to do that, then those are the customers that will be paying in that money, that lump sum, so that we can actually you can grow your business. Just I want to hear from the others that haven't spoken. Is it Miss Ku? Is it what training?
Miss Training, please.
Yeah, Miss Training. Yes.
Hi everyone. So I've got a noisy child here, so that's why I'm just typing. But yeah, I was just telling you about my experience in terms of subscription. So I use software as a service for this one part of my business. And some of the, I think, pain points for me is the one thing that came out of, I use Google Workplace, and I use Google Workplace, and I'm a reseller. And one of the things that Google decided to do was to change the pricing from, so the way the pricing was in US dollars, now it changed to euros. And when it changes to euros, this happened sometime last year. So this happened, and then it affects my pricing, because if it's in euros, then it ends up being more costly. So where I used to pay 60 rands, maybe 70 rands per, if the rent got bad, 70 rands per user, now would have to end up paying about 120 just by changing the currency. So, but you already committed to that, you've already integrated that, you've already migrated clients. So it's sort of like, it's just a mess. There's a bit of a scammy situation in it. I agree with one of the ladies, I don't know, she said that she mentioned that option. But other than that, I thank you this is the first time I joined the book reviews, and I'm currently assisting startups in their business development. I think one of the things that they've added, although they have their solutions, their offerings, one of the things that they have is they've now added tech into it, and some have wanting to add a subscription element into it. So I just wanted to find out more information, more insights about this, and how I can sort of like encourage them, and also encourage myself to read the book so that I can share the learnings from that. So thank you. Sorry for the noise.
No, it's fine. Maybe Lolo, do you have anything to say about the book as we go into closing?
Hi, Malisela. Well done. You've been leading today's session exceptionally well, enjoying the dialogue and the debate. I enjoyed the book, but I read it after I'd read another book on a similar topic called Oversubscribed, which is by Daniel Priestley. And that is where I got hooked with regards to the subscription economy. But I've a slight, I don't know if I would say a tension point, but the emphasis that subscription is only when one has a very robust back end. I don't believe that's the approach. I believe that's the ideal picture. Ideally, you'd have the back end to be able to do your predictive analytics based on the intel you're getting, but it should not be something that scares away a startup that does not have the infrastructure. Rosh earlier on was speaking about how he'll definitely need a tech person to do his CRM, but there should be ways that this can be started, even if it's at more the baby steps in terms of entering the space. And earlier on, as you were speaking, I was joining the dialogue from outside before joining the room. I'm not sure who raised it. I think it was Rosh, but I can't be too sure. But you were talking about how this then directs us to being customer centric. So McKinsey has a term that they punt a lot, which is the fact that we're in a high personalization era. So you want to be grouping your tribes, but at the same time, it's important that as we do it, each person within that tribe feels like a unique individual. So for me, that's something that I just wanted to share. And if we approach it that way, then that's how we can start. For it to be only about having a robust back end, and some of the examples that were used, I don't fully agree that that's the only direction that one has to, because it will be overwhelming and it will be a no-go area for a startup. But as you say, that's the ideal scenario. Surely, my background is also banking. And when you talk about being able to understand and predict and create a marketing campaign based on what you are about to spend on next, that is what people thrive on. But we should be able to do that at a more simplistic manner and be able to collect data, even without all the fancy footwork from a tech and SaaS perspective. So I enjoyed it, but I still think oversubscribed. For me, it stole my heart.
We should actually read that one, Dr. Rush. I've never read it before. I actually just Googled it now. I think that just the last thing, I like what you're saying now about it doesn't have to start with this robustness and people think that you can't do it if you're a startup. I think if you are able to do normal accounting, knowing what is your bills and what you need to spend on, and how much you're going to be making in profit after you've had all these subscriptions, then you can do a subscription model, because that basically starts, it's the base of what's needed within that business to run to the next year. And then after that, I think, like I said, you are able to continue growing the business from there on. Obviously, it needs discipline, it needs correct accounting for you to actually be able to do that. And then
I think, Mali, when I was talking about the infrastructure, I was talking about the book, what Tien says. These are the takeaways that I was referring. I was not saying startups need to build an IT infrastructure. I mean, they have cash flow challenges. I was saying that these are some of the lessons that I've picked up to say, if you're going to do it in this way, one of the things that is, it's the ability to track customers. You need some form of, I mean, the book is, I think he's living in the future. We are not there yet in Africa. I think, he's living in the future. I mean, the things that he's talking about, we are not yet there, But I'm saying he's basically saying if you're to pull this off according to him, you're gonna need some IT infrastructure, right? But of course, I mean, when I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, I can tell you now, entrepreneurs don't know their customers. They don't spend time analyzing their customers and or gathering. So entrepreneurs will talk about, I have a database of customers, but who have you done some intelligence on the database? Very little intelligence has been done on the database. And I think Subscribed talks to that. It talks to the ability to do some intelligence on the database. I was not referring to startups having to build infrastructure. I mean, that would be impractical. I was referring to the lessons from the book.
I see someone asking, do we get to rate, do we get to rate the book? We'll rate the book at the end. I just want to hear other people's, other people's. Is it, who is it? Non-Teteka. Is Non-Teteka?
No, Marcella, that's my note taker.
Oh, okay.
That's the best one yet.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. And then is there anyone else, maybe in closing, that wants to give the final verdict before we rate the book? And in fact,
sorry, I just want to ask a question to Dr. Rush. The crisis that you're saying that entrepreneurs don't know their clients. And I'm wondering, and this was also what I didn't like about the book, because you said that it requires a heavy infrastructure and the finance team, the IT team, the sales, marketing. What is the easiest way, do you think, that that entrepreneurs can actually get to know their clients? Kanye is a big artist, but he basically put it out there and responded to every single client. And I would assume that maybe social media would be one way, but what would you recommend for a small entrepreneur? what do we need to do to know that to know our clients?
I think Mali's the right person to answer that, because he's a
answer that.
Yes, he's a tech person. So I mean, it's a pain that I have. I mean, it's a question that I'm sitting with to say, how much do we know of our customers? I mean, I fire my customers after 6 months of doing their programs with me. Once they graduate, they're gone. 6 months later, I don't know what they're doing. You know, are they implementing what they've learned? Are they growing? I don't. And for me, it's a question that keeps on nagging to say, how do I keep track of these guys? To know, you know, and I think Mali, he being the tech person here, he should be able to enlighten us.
So maybe I have an input, not lighten me, but I have an input on that. And I listened to this because I'm starting something for myself as well. I've been listening to these Y Combinator teachings that these guys, lectures that they give on YouTube. And one of the things that they talk about is know your customer, meaning know who your customer is that you'll be selling to, but also know what your customer wants, find out what your customer wants and what they don't want. I think it's a great example of what you're saying, Dr. Roche, is that you don't know what's happening with these guys out there. And one thing I like, for instance, what Y Combinator does is that they make it a cult following that I'm part of Y Combinator, and that once I'm out of Y Combinator, I am an alumni of Y Combinator, because everybody knows Y Combinator. So the value that Y Combinator then brings is the fact that so many companies have grown from Y Combinator and are able to take that value of that person being that person being so successful as it's because of us that these people are successful. So come to us, come invest in us, come and become a part of the alumni of Y Combinator, and that's how they grow. That's why for me that's how they keep on getting all these best startup ideas knocking at their door, trying to learn from them, because they've proven record, and their proven record is the people that have done the work outside. Even though it's not necessarily them doing the work, it's the teachings that is leading to people actually coming back and actually subscribing in a way to being, I want to be a Y Combinator alumni. And now the amazing thing of for a startup in a way, I'll give you an example of what we did. So I had this company with a friend of mine called We Collaborate. And what we did in We Collaborate is we got people in the creative industry to collaborate on ideas that don't even make sense, and create something that is new so that we can show the world what's happening out there with these people. And then people know and see the talent that was within our pool and actually go out and sell our services, which is hire the people that's in our pool. And one of the things we did is we advertised their work on our platform. It's work that they've been doing, and it's work that they know they can do. And all we did is we gave them a platform to advertise their work on our platform, and they became our product in a way without us saying they are our product. And with a subscription model in a startup, I would think of it in that way, to say, be obviously that for us it was that our product was the people. But in a beauty, for instance, salon, is that I like what I don't know if it was Matsepo or it was Tzuo that said, I think it was you, Tzuo, to say that you go out and you sell a box of these samples. But for you to know what samples you're selling or you're going to give to your clients, you need to know what kind of samples your clients like. So as the people come to your business, you almost give them that sample to see if they like it, and you hook them by that sample that you like. You say, you know, if you subscribe, you can actually get, it's almost like a freemium model where you understanding what people like by giving them something free so that they can subscribe to get more free things in the future. And within the within tech companies where I work, for instance, how they do that is it's very sales driven where I work. So they go and they have to get a BA to understand the business so that we can give value to say, okay, we see your business, we see this is your inefficiencies, this is what we want to give you, and this is what your ROI will be. And within that space, the client automatically goes, oh, I see. But the only problem obviously with that is that the sales cycle will take so long because they never really had a budget for it that time. But for those that don't have a budget, for those SMEs and those startups, I think the best way to know your customer is asking them, because, you know, as they say in Y Combinator, when you start building, you're building something that is not scalable yet. I don't know if that kind of gives it, at least, if that makes sense, Tzuo.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I think that Dr. Roche mentioned a book about tribes. Can you share that? Because I think that also might help in knowing when you curate your tribe, then you understand your client, your avatar, your business avatar, and what they want, and get more into it. So I'd like to read that also.
Yeah, it's this one. I don't know if you can see Tribes by Seth Godin. Yeah, it's actually quite good when it comes to that. But I think maybe we can read it early next year. I mean, there's already, what is it? Oversubscribed. There's Tribes. I'll sort of put up a list. Tribes is very thin. I think we can read it within 3 weeks or so. But yeah, and oversubscribed as well. I just need to see how we line them up.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll let me just share it on the chat. Sorry.
Yeah, so any final words from anyone before we rate the book? I think this has been quite interesting and eye-opening.
Yeah, no final words from me.
Okay, Dr. Roche, Lolo, do you have any final words?
No final words, sir.
All right, Trini, any final words from you? Okay, Shama?
No, I'm good, thanks. Information overload for me.
Okay, Matseko?
Yeah, I mean, I think I should get the audio book of this, because the reading portion, I don't think it's gonna happen. But I think, you know, for me, what I'd love to see, and maybe it's a different conversation, it's not even a book review, is how this model would work for social enterprises. I'd love to see how that would work, because I think I'm in that space, and that would actually be more meaningful for me. But yeah, thank you for the what? For choosing the book. And I think it was a great session, even though I didn't read the book. Thanks.
Okay, I'm glad. Dr. Rush?
I think I'll be nice. I'll give it an 8.
Okay, an 8.
I think I'll give it an 8. The concept is not new.
Yeah.
I'll give it an 8 because I think I've learned certain things here that I think are quite good, and I'm gonna try them out. But yeah, I think 8. Yeah, I'm being nice. 8.
Okay, Tzuo?
I'll give it a 7. Maybe because first I was not ready for. I don't think I'm ready for it because of the big infrastructure stuff that needs to come with it. That's quite scary for an entrepreneur, and also because I don't think he wrote it as if he came up with a customer-centric concept. I think it's been there long before 2017, but if I could rate the number of examples that he gave, I'll give the examples a 10. Like, it really got me thinking out of the box and off the box. I love the examples. I love just listening to the various examples that he gave in that opened my eyes. So.
And then Lolo, I think you also rated Mus. Why would you give it, especially after reading Oversubscribed? Lolo? I don't know if she can hear us, but I think I would also give it a, I'm going to be a bit biased because I got it, but I'm going to give it a 8.5 to 9. The reason for that, right, is I do believe, actually, I'll give it an 8 because from a book perspective of what we can look forward to and opening our minds, especially as a business owner, as much as we're saying, and I saw Tzuo, you said it's like they're teaching you how to scam people. As much as they are teaching you how to scam people, you would probably, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, you would want to have a model that is giving you recurring money. Not only from a place of the security, but also from a place of the opportunities that brings with you innovating more within the book, within your business as well. And I feel like from that point of view, it really is amazing. Like you're saying, with the amount of the examples for me are like the best, because the first time I read that Caterpillar was actually, I didn't know this until I read this book, but Caterpillar has done a subscription model. I was like, how is that even possible? How is a machinery like that, where you don't need it to be a subscription, but it is, and it works? For me, that blew my mind around that. But the last thing, the reason I didn't give it a 9 or a 10, for instance, is the fact that, again, I still come back to, it's not South Africa friendly. It's something I've been speaking to a friend of mine about, and some other people about, around how I feel like South African SMEs especially are almost always trying to survive. That a lot of implementing new things like that is almost like, oh, no, but not me yet, because I need to see value first before I start these things. And or there's many other things, like you're saying, the infrastructure around being able to, even people, just SMEs itself, knowing what actually data is. It's something I was talking to someone about, is that data isn't actually just, a lot of South Africans perceive data as your data bundles, but data is everything around you and how you perceive it. The fact that I'm talking to you, you're receiving data from what I'm saying. And until South African SMEs and small businesses can understand what that means and how that can help them, building a good subscription model around South Africans is going to be very hard, because it's almost like, okay, but it's too good to be true. Why are you this cheap? How are you going to rob me? You know, so I'll give it an 8, therefore, because of that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Dr. Rush. Over to you.
Oh, you are handing over. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mali, for an amazing work. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The next book, colleagues, is Great by Choice. Jim Collins, I think we know him by the book Good to Great. And I understand Shama has volunteered to, thank you, Shama. She has volunteered to facilitate that session. So it's her book, Great by Choice. So thank you so much. And I will see you next time. And I will upload this discussion on YouTube by tomorrow. So thanks so much and have a lovely evening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Good evening.